that like things that are in here are just, whoa, that's for them. It's not for them, it's for you. This is like, it's like a pop-up book. And you open it, it pops up, and it's you that pops up. That's the way we're supposed to live. You are the highly favored one. Isn't that incredible? Now listen to this, highly favored ones. Let me tell you what goes with that. Start in verse 3. I'm going to go fast here. Highly favored one. Janice, you have been blessed with every spiritual blessing, verse 3, in the heavenly realms, with every spiritual blessing. Verse 4, Alan, He chose you, highly favored one, in Him, listen to this, before the creation of the world. Before the creation of the world, Carol, He had you in mind. He loved you and chose you. And He goes, wow, there's going to be this time in history. Boom, boom, boom. Pop up! And here comes Carol Campbell, the highly chosen one. That's who you are. Isn't that incredible? I'm just an old sinner saved by grace. No, you're a highly favored one that God chose and loved you since before the creation of the world. Live like it. Embrace that. Receive that. Walk that out. That is your identity. If we ever got this stuff. Listen, get this. Merry Christmas. Seriously. I mean, the greatest gift you could ever get this year is to believe this today. It is. And to live it out. Okay? I thought I was too tired to get this wound up. All right. To be holy and blameless in His sight. You are holy. But I always thought I was a loser. It says right here, you are holy. You are blameless. I'm ugly. I'm a nobody. I've sinned so far. I've sinned so badly. I'm just, listen, that's Old Testament. There's good news. The good news that the choir sang about is, yeah, that was you, and that was me, and that was every one of us until Jesus came, until this child was born and came to live and die in our place and go to the cross and be raised from the dead. And now that is gone, Paul said. The old has passed away. Behold, all things have become new. You have been made new. This is what your life is to look like. Embrace it now and go live that. I am holy. He made me holy. There's nothing holy in this carton except Jesus that lives inside of me. And because of Him, I have been made holy and blameless. Isn't that awesome? I don't have to hide anymore. You don't have to hide from God thinking He's turned His back in His swivel chair. He hasn't. He has spun around when Jesus came and goes, I will never leave you or forsake you. I will never take my eyes off of you. I am crazy in love with you. You are mine. I've chosen you before the foundation of the world. I've blessed you with every spiritual blessing in the heavenly places. I call you holy. I see you holy and blameless. Then the next one, verse 5. And He predestined us to be adopted as His sons. Wow! You mean you would adopt me? You chose me? Yep. I mean, we're at this conference, these baseball players and their wives, and there's all kinds of kids, these players that had the means that they go to China and they get this baby, or there's this, this kind of orphan, and they go and they choose this, I'm going to adopt you. Like, that's us. He chose us and adopted us as His own. And then the rest of it says in that verse, with pleasure. God, you please God. When I thought He was angry at me all the time. I mean, He's going to get a little upset when you sin, but where that comes from, down who He is He is pleased with you for His pleasure. Revelation chapter 4, Thou art worthy, O Lord, to receive glory and honor and power, for Thou hast created all things for Thy pleasure. What? You created me for your pleasure? Yep. Sup? He created you for His pleasure. You please Him. In Him, verse 7, in Him we have redemption through His blood. You have been redeemed. He has bought you back. And then the next verse, the forgiveness of sins in accordance with the riches of God's grace that He lavished on us. God is a lavishing God. He wants to lavish His love on you. Merry Christmas! Get out your camera. Celebrate. What's up? You are a highly favored one of God if you are in Jesus. Isn't that awesome? How did we miss that? Okay, I better go get back. All right. Back to Luke chapter 1. Greetings, you who are highly favored. The Lord is with you. And Mary was greatly troubled at His words. You think? It wasn't troubling that He showed up. That troubles me, that it didn't trouble her. Wow, that's a mouthful. No, it didn't. It's like, okay, an angel is no big deal. Why was that no big deal? Because, we find out from her song that she was pursuing all who got her understanding of God. She draws from all these prophecies and all this old... it's obvious she had given her life to the things of God. And so when God shows up and goes, don't be afraid, she wasn't afraid. She was just troubled at... I never heard God go, what's up? Hello, good morning, highly favored one, my beautiful one, my chosen, she's like, wow. I thought, this is what I thought, but that's not how God really speaks. God says, I'm highly favored. That's the troubling thing. She was troubled in what she thought and grew up with and heard with the truth. Ooh, some of us today, troubled. Because what we always thought is being upset with the truth. Listen, I'm not saying this. This says this. Please today, you don't have to walk the aisle. I don't care what you do. But please, go wrestle with this. You got to wrestle with this. Don't walk out of here. Don't walk out of here without this agitation going on. It's like, okay, something's got to give because the welcome, highly favored one doesn't go with my concept of God. Listen, that ought to trouble you. Be very troubled. You're in trouble if that doesn't trouble you. That's the trouble. Wrestle with it. I just got off my face for a week in Florida. I went to have a good time, and the whole time I'm like going, oh God, it's like, wow. Thank you, God. We have to wrestle with that stuff. Don't go home. I'm not saying what you think I'm saying. Don't go home and just sit down, flip on the TV, and just... there's nothing wrong with that, okay? What's wrong, though, is that we don't do something with this stuff. All right. Don't be afraid, Mary. You have found favor with God. I'm going to stick to my notes and fly through this. The coming of Jesus to Mary and to us is the shattering of this belief and about the heart of God, what God is really like. The greatest gift this Christmas that I can have and you can have is for once, maybe once and for all, to really understand the heart of God. This is the heart of God. These few verses right here are the heart of God. I see you, I love you, and I'm coming into your world to do everything I have to do, whatever I have to do. And what had to happen was Jesus had to die. But the heart of God is, I want you so desperately, and I want you to want me so desperately, that I'm going to go to the ends of the earth, to whatever lengths it takes to tell you this. What's up, highly favored one? Wow. Okay? A.W. Tozer wrote, what comes into our mind when we think about God is the most important thing about us. What comes into our mind when we think about God is the most important thing about us. Were we able to extract from any man a complete answer to the question, what comes into your mind when you think about God? We might predict, Tozer says, listen to this, we might predict with certainty the spiritual future of that man. Wow. What you think about God, your entire spiritual future hinges on. Today, when you come up with this, wait a minute, I thought, but what you do with that determines the spiritual future of your life. You can go back, nope, I don't get that. I'm just going to keep living with this God that keeps the checkbook balanced and pops me on the head, and I have to work and I have to measure up, and oh, isn't that fun? Or I can go, okay, God, I see your heart, and I'm going to walk in this truth. And he said, don't be afraid. Gabriel says to her, don't be afraid. I'm going to wrap this up with this one, then I'll stop and finish next week. I used to be afraid of what would happen if I was all in. Anybody else? I mean, I was afraid. It's like, okay, if I give all of, if I give all of me to God, I'm afraid. What's He going to do? He's going to send me overseas to the mission board, or He's going to make me have 9 kids, or I was afraid. If I come to the place where I'm all in, what does that look like? You know what makes me afraid now? Not being afraid. I'm afraid. See, it's like she was afraid. The angel said, don't be afraid because I'm showing up. What makes me afraid now is Him not showing up. And I got to listen, those of you who are visiting, don't check out, but just put a comma, okay? And I'll get back to you in a minute. I'm going to talk to you for 1 second. You know what makes me afraid for us as a church? Is if God doesn't show up. And I got to tell you, if we're going to be a church that we don't want God to show up, I got to go somewhere else. I do. That's not a threat or whatever. I am afraid of, not that God shows up, I'm afraid if He doesn't show up. I am scared out of my mind if God doesn't show up in my home. I am. God, you have to show up. Boy, you're going to take this wrong. I'm not, okay, Terry and we're awesome, okay? Trust me. So don't twist this. Oh, the pastor's having marital trouble. No, we're awesome. But I'm just telling you, marriage is hard. If God doesn't show up, we're in trouble. If God doesn't show up in your marriage, trouble. Capital T, trouble. If God doesn't show up in me as a daddy to my kids, they're in trouble. If God doesn't show up in your business, you're in trouble. If God doesn't show up in whatever part of your life, be afraid. Be really afraid. Not that He comes, but that He doesn't come. God, I'm not afraid of you to come. I'm afraid if you don't in this church. We got to be hungry. That's where I started, and that's where I'm going to end. Oh, God, come. Lord, forgive me for thinking I'm rich. In that, here's what I mean. In that, I think I'm self-sufficient. I don't need anything or anyone, especially you. God, forgive me. Terry and we were on our knees like this in this thing this week and going, oh, God, I'm sorry. I am so sorry. It wasn't because of this sin or that sin. That would have been a piece of cake compared to what I'm sorry for. God, I'm sorry that I've ever lived 1 second of my life thinking I didn't need you. Oh, God. See, I don't have the vocabulary to tell you the pain or where that was. I can't even describe it, but there was this thing coming. It's like, oh God, I'm sorry for 1 second when I resisted you. And I'm not talking about, okay, I thought you were saved. I'm not talking about that. See, that's our problem. We think, okay, I walked down the aisle, I'm saved, I'm going to heaven. I'm checked out now. No, really? I'm talking about, are we going to be all in where every second of my life I am after Him with all I have? That's what I'm talking about. I'm hungry for Him. The hungry were filled, and the rich sent away. Are you hungry? We can't get to the place where we have that disease. Remember that Miles' son had, where we don't feel anything? Some of us have this just life, this world, this fallen world has so diseased us to where we don't have the ability to feel that we're hungry for the things of God. And so we're starving to death. That's not anorexia. No, bulimia is not. I don't know if there may not even be a word for that. But it's like, I don't feel hunger. I feel like I'm full because the world tricks us. We're full of this and full of that, and really all we're full of is ourselves. And we're seriously, we're just full of ourselves. It's like, God, I want to empty me of myself. I'm gross. Myself, that's the old man that died when Jesus came. Bless you. I want to be full of Him. I'm hungry for God. I just got to tell you. The other thing you need to know, visitors, is I'm not like the pastor that you have in mind. I'm just me going, I'm just Bobby. I'm your friend. I'm your brother and your coach and that's who I am. And I'm just being who I am in front of you going, I'm just telling you, for me, for my house, I'm hungry for God, and I'm after Him with all I got. And the invitation is, will you join me? You know? Quickly. Some of you wandered in here, they go, whoa, wow, whoa. Listen, maybe you've come and it's like, wow, I've never heard that. Never heard it put that way, but no, I've never heard, listen, I'm just telling you, God through the voice of Gabriel that said, what's up? Highly favored one, I'm in love with you. I made you. You've been in my heart since the foundation of the world, and I've waited for this day to lavish myself on you. That God is in love with you. And He went to such lengths for you to understand that and embrace it and come to Him. And today's the day you can go, that's a God I can love. That's the God I want. And here it is. It's this simple. It's not simple afterwards. It's simple to get there. It's simple as, really, God? You did that for me? Then I'll receive that. The price has been paid? Yep. The redemption, it's been worked out so I can be transformed? Yep. I can be redeemed? Really? Yep. This church we served in Texas, we were after the lost. And I would say something like that, and then the lost guys would go, no kidding, but it wasn't kidding. You know, it was like, really? In church. You go, no? Yeah, really? No. Yeah. It's like, that's how He loves you. And today's the day when I'll help you. There's lots of people right here. We can help you go, here's how you ask Jesus in your heart. I'd love to do that. But then for those of us who love Jesus and have asked Him in, and He's redeemed us and He's transformed our lives. And here's the big push for me today. And it's not if you walk this aisle or not. My ego is not tied up in that. I hurt. Some days I go home hurting, literally hurting. And it's not because I think I preached awesome. I don't preach awesome. But it's because it's like, oh, if somebody, please, one person, somebody's got to get this. That's the thing that just, and I know some people, you don't have to walk an aisle. I'm not saying that. But from that place, I want you to get this today. Please get this today. God, I'm hungry for you. I cannot go one more second without you. And then after that, I can't live one more second apart from all of who you are. I am all in, God. I'm all in today. How about it, highly favored one? That's who you are. Would you embrace that today? And from this day forward, begin to walk and live that out. Let's pray. Tara, would you play something just really quietly?